Welcome to the Elevated Woman's Podcast, your guide to optimal health and confidence. I'm Dr. Ade Akindipe, family nurse practitioner and women's health coach. I help women in midlife reset their bodies and reclaim their confidence. So this is the place where real talk meets real solutions. No quick fixes, no fluff, just the tools, strategies, and stories you need to break free from stubborn weight gain, balancing your hormones, and stepping into your healthiest self yet. Whether you're navigating perimenopause, menopause, or simply just tired of feeling like your body's working against you, then you're in the right place. Let's get into it. Welcome back. You are listening to the Elevated Woman's Podcast, and I am your host, Dr. Ade Akindipe. So glad you're here for episode 30 episodes. We are definitely doing something right, y'all. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for supporting me throughout all of this time. We started this podcast late September. And really what I wanted to do with this podcast was to reach women of all backgrounds, age, no matter what you might be going through. If you were just looking for some clarity around metabolic health, hormonal health, I wanted this to be the spot for you. If you listen to the initial episode, I went through the same issues, perimenopausal changes, the weight gain, and trying to understand my body was what sparked the movement and opening of Rejuvenate Health and Wellness, which is a clinic that I own here in Anchorage, Alaska. I've helped so many women who have been battling one thing or the other, whether it was extreme fatigue, body aches, weight gain, mood issues. Things were just going haywire in their bodies and they needed answers, and they've been shunned or dismissed and told everything was fine, but they were not fine. I'm so glad that episode 30 is here and still going strong, and I love the messages and all the feedback that I've been getting. Thank you so much for supporting this. So without further ado, today we are talking about food. I know, that word alone might make some of you tense up a little bit, because if you've been dealing with insulin resistance specifically, or PMOS, which is what we've been talking about over the last couple of episodes, you have probably been given a lot of conflicting advice, right? Confusing, sometimes frankly unhelpful advice about what to eat. Eat less, move more, cut carbs, no wait. Don't cut carbs, just eat the good carbs. Try keto, no keto. Oh, it's too extreme. Count your calories. Don't count calories. Just eat intuitively. I'm sure you've heard all of this. Says, I hear you. And today we are cutting through all of that noise. So this episode is not about diet. This is not a meal plan I'm handing you and telling you to follow forever. What I want to do today is help you understand the why behind eating for insulin resistance. Because when you understand the why, you can then make decisions that actually make sense for your life. And I'm going to give you the practical what to. Real food, real strategies, no guilt. All right, let's get into it. So let me start by saying something that I think is really important. If you have insulin resistance, your body processes food differently than someone who does not have insulin resistance. So it's not you. It's not a you problem. It's biology. And once you understand it, a lot of things that haven't been making sense will start to click for you. So a quick recap from our earlier episodes is insulin is the hormone that moves glucose from your blood into your cells. When you have insulin resistance, your cells have stopped responding as well. So your pancreas tries to compensate by pumping out more insulin. And when your insulin is high all the time, even before your blood sugar is technically high, it tells your body to store fat, especially around your belly. And it makes it really, really hard to burn fat. So here's where food comes in. Every time you eat carbs, and when I say carbs, I mean all carbs, from a candy bar to banana to brown rice, your blood sugar rises and insulin is released. The question is, how high does it rise and how fast? Because that determines whether your body is spending the next 2 hours in a fat storage mode, or whether it stays in a place where it can actually access and burn fat. So this is the thing I hear constantly, and I want to address it directly because it causes so much unnecessary frustration and shame. A woman with insulin resistance can be eating what looks like a perfectly healthy diet. Maybe she's having oatmeal for breakfast, a salad with grilled chicken for lunch, rice and vegetables for dinner, fruits for snacks, and still not losing weight, still having cravings, still crash in the afternoon, still feels puffy and inflamed. And that is because healthy is not the same as healthy for insulin resistance. Oatmeal and brown rice and bananas and low-fat yogurt with fruit, these are all foods that spike glucose, sugar, and insulin. Maybe not dramatically for someone with normal insulin sensitivity, but for a woman with IR or insulin resistance, that response is amplified and it keeps her stuck. So for these women, it's not about willpower. It's about the wrong framework being applied to the wrong body, which is why when women go on social media or go into these Facebook groups and start to get ideas from different people, even if you have the same condition, the way you respond to foods are all different. So what is the right framework? It's this. We eat to keep insulin low, not zero. Insulin is still a necessary hormone, but low enough and stable enough that your body can shift out of storage mode into healing mode. I say healing because insulin resistance is equal to inflammation. When you have high blood sugars, you're inflamed. So when you want to get into healing mode, that's how we need to really use food as medicine to heal that. And the good news is the foods that do that are actually really satisfying. So it's not a starvation thing. I promise you, it's not. I want to give you 3 principles, not rules, principles, because rules get broken and then we feel like failures sometimes. So principles give you a framework you can apply to any meal, any restaurant, any situation. These are the 3 things I come back to over and over again with myself and with my patients. So proteins first at every meal. I want you to think of protein as the anchor of your meal. The reason why is because it blunts the effects of glucose. So the sugar response of whatever else you eat, it keeps you full. It preserves your muscle, and muscle is metabolically active tissue. More muscle means better insulin sensitivity over time. So women that maybe you carry a lot of visceral fat, meaning fat around the belly, and you feel like no matter what you do, you can't lose that belly fat, eating protein becomes very, very important as you're strength training and doing all of those other things. Protein has to be that anchor to keep you full so that you're not spiking insulin. Remember, we said spiking insulin means storage. It tells your body to store that fat, especially in the midsection. So targeting about 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. And yes, breakfast counts too, especially breakfast. Start your day with a high protein meal. That's one of the single most impactful thing you can do for your blood sugar and your cravings for the entire rest of the day. Now, I know that someone will say, but I don't like to eat breakfast. That is okay. But what you don't want to do though is load up on things that will spike your sugar and make your blood sugars crash, because one of the most common things my patients will say is, I just don't really feel hungry. I would rather have my cup of coffee. And cortisol spikes is what happens when you start your day on an empty stomach with coffee. If you have insulin resistance or PMOS, this is something you don't want to do, because you starting off your day spiking your cortisol, and cortisol raises your blood sugar and in turn will raise your insulin. So you're kind of stuck there. And when you finally eat and you're really hungry because you get that crash from that high cortisol and then the high blood sugar, and then you crash, most times you are craving carbs. So if you start your day in a way, maybe starting with some water or lemon water just to kind of get your digestive enzymes going. Sometimes you just don't feel like you need to eat something in the morning. So it can be as easy as a protein boiled egg or a protein shake, just something to get your digestion going, mostly starting with protein is best, especially if you're fasting. No matter what kind of fast you're coming out of, you don't want to be breaking your fast with high carb meals or coffee first. So again, we talk about 25 to 30 grams of protein. What does that look like? 25 to 30 grams of protein can look like 3 large eggs plus 2 strips of turkey bacon. That's about 28 grams. 1 cup of cottage cheese plus a half a cup of berries. That's about 28 grams of protein. One of my go-tos is Greek yogurt, plain or full fat, plus 1 scoop of protein powder. That's about 32 grams. 4 ounces of salmon with 1 cup of edamame. That's 35 grams. Protein shake with almond milk, without any added sugar, 25 to 30 grams. So, and if you're someone who wakes up and just like we talked about, start small. If you can't have a large meal in the morning, even a half a scoop of protein powder and some water is better than just coffee. So work your way up gradually. Your hunger signals will recalibrate as your insulin starts to stabilize. Principle number 2, crowd out the carbs. Don't eliminate them. Here's where I see women go one of two ways. They either try to eat really low carb and then feel deprived and then they give up, or they don't change their carb intake at all because they've been told carbs aren't the problem. So neither extreme serves you well. So the goal is not zero carbs. The goal is lowering your glycemic load of your meals, meaning how much and how fast your blood sugar rises after you eat. And you do that by crowding out high glycemic carbs with foods that are lower on the glycemic index and higher in fiber, fat, and protein. I have a chart, I've been using it for a while now, that I will give out to my coaching clients that have red, yellow, and green. Everything in the red are the ones that are going to spike your blood sugar really, really fast. And those are the columns that you want to stay away from. Anything in the green, you can go for. Anything in the moderate yellow column, that's the one you want to be very careful of, and you might want to reduce the servings of it because they can still spike insulin. So again, we're not saying no to all carbs. We're making smarter swaps. And over time, as your insulin improves, some of those foods you used to eat can come back in smaller amounts without the same response. So that's not forever. That's right now while we're doing the healing work. Let's go a little bit detail into what spikes insulin fast and what keeps insulin stable. Some of these you probably already know. Spiking insulin fast is white rice, white bread, pasta, sweetened yogurt. There's a lot of yogurt out there. Women will say, well, I'm eating protein, but they're adding all of this sugar into their protein intake. So flavored oatmeal, sweetened yogurt, fruit juices, smoothies with fruit only. I had one lady who had a CGM and thought she was eating healthy. She would stop and have this green tea, sort of a smoothie or juice of some kind, but it was spiking her blood sugars. Crackers, pretzels, granola bars, sweetened coffee drinks, breakfast cereals, even the healthy ones, bananas, grapes, mangoes, high sugar, low fat, anything, usually high in sugar. One tip is if you have something that's supposed to be zero sugar added and you're looking at the contents on the back of the package and it says anything with OSE at the end of it, sucralose is one of the common ones in there. I was in Costco with my husband one day. He likes some of these protein bars and cereals, and he's been on his own health journey as well. And we picked up one of those cereals, and of course, on the back of it, I think it was cereal, either cereal or bar. And the back of it, it said one of the ingredients said sucralose. That is a sugar. It's added sugar. I remember what it was. It was actually a drink, a particular drink that was supposed to be a high protein drink, like a pre-workout drink or some sort. And of course, when we tasted it, how you can do the Costco taste testing, and we took a sip and we're like, this really tastes kind of sweet. And I went to look at the back of the drink, and of course it has sucralose in it. So beware. So the foods that keeps insulin stable, cauliflower rice. Actually, I didn't like cauliflower rice when I first started it, but I found some really great ones in Walmart that you can toss into, they were in the frozen section, toss them with some chopped up vegetables like peppers and things like that. And it was actually really good. It was a good replacement for white rice, which is something that I grew up with and I had to cut back on. Lentil pasta, full fat Greek yogurt, egg-based breakfast, whole berries, small servings though, plus fat or protein, nuts, seeds, cheese, hard-boiled eggs, black coffee, or coffee with heavy cream only, eggs, cottage cheese, smoked salmon. One of my favorite for breakfast is smoked salmon, berries, green apples, citrus in small amounts, full fat dairy if you tolerate dairy. Those are more satiating and they have a lower glycemic index. I want to say something about low fat thing because this one trips people up. When food companies remove fat, they replace it with sugar or starches to make it taste good. Kind of like what I just talked about. High protein, but it's a drink. They added the little sucralose in there, but it is sugar. So low fat yogurt, low fat salad dressing, low fat everything, that is not your friend when you have insulin resistance or PMOS. Full fat, real food is better. I know that sounds counterintuitive after decades of the low fat messaging we've all been raised on, but the science is very clear on this. Principle number 3, the order and the window both matter. So this one's a little bit nerdy, but stick with me because it genuinely it's game changing if you really follow this. The research shows that if you eat vegetables and proteins first before your carbs, your post-meal blood sugar spike can be reduced by up to 30%. Same food, same amounts, just different order. The fiber and the protein slow down how quickly your carb hits your bloodstream. So at every meal, vegetables first, protein second, carbs last. So start making that a habit in your CGM. If you've got one after episode 29, the CGM that you put on your arm and track your blood sugars, that will show you the difference immediately. Second, your eating window. We covered time restricted eating a little in an earlier episode, but let me reinforce it here because it is specifically powerful for insulin resistance. When you're eating all day long, grazing and snacking, eating from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., your insulin never gets a real break. It is elevated almost constantly. And when insulin is elevated, your body cannot access its storage. Period. Think about it. If you're eating and grazing all day, this is for insulin resistance now. Your blood sugars are spiking all day. That means your insulin is high. It's telling your body, hey, store it. Store the fat, even though you're trying to lose weight. So compressing your eating window into a 10-hour window, say 9 a.m. to 7 p.m., gives you a 14-hour overnight fast where insulin drops. Your body gets to actually burn some stored fuel and cellular repair process kicks in. You don't have to do anything extreme. A 10-hour window is a solid starting point. And the simplest way to stop eating after dinner. That's it. No late night snacks. Just stop eating after dinner. And then after meals, the post-meal walk, the most underrated insulin tool, a 10 to 15 minute walk after your largest meal can reduce your post-meal glucose spike by up to 30%. Your muscles act like a glucose sponge during movement, so they absorb that sugar without needing insulin to do it. This is free. It requires zero equipment. All you need to do is just walk, and it works every single time. Walk around the block, walk your dog, walk in your kitchen. Just move, dance after you eat. I want to make this real because principles are great, but sometimes you just need to know what to put on the plate. Let me walk you through what a day of eating for insulin resistance actually looks like in practice. So it's not a meal plan. This is just examples of the principles and how they show up in real life. So morning, you break the overnight fast with protein, not sugar. So one option is 3 scrambled eggs cooked in butter or avocado oil, half an avocado, handful of spinach sauteed in the same pan. This is like something that I would put together. That's a complete meal. It takes 10 minutes. It will carry you 4 to 5 hours without crashing. Option B, full fat plain Greek yogurt, not flavored, not low fat, with a scoop of protein powder mixed in, a small handful of walnuts, and a quarter cup of blueberries. It's quick, it's satisfying. Another option, if you're someone who truly cannot eat in the morning, have your coffee with a splash of heavy cream and commit to eating your first meal before 10 a.m. Don't push breakfast till noon and then wonder why you're ravenous and craving sugar by 11, right? Lunchtime, midday. Think general portion of protein. So chicken, salmon, ground turkey, hard-boiled eggs, canned tuna, with a big pile of non-starchy vegetables and a fat source like olive oil, avocado, cheese, nuts. And if you add a carb, make it small and keep it last on the plate. A quarter cup of quinoa, a roasted sweet potato, a slice of sourdough bread, not a whole serving, a complement. The big mistake I see at lunch is a salad with lots of vegetables and a tiny bit of protein with low-fat dressing. That is not enough to keep insulin stable. You will be hungry again in 2 hours, craving something sweet and wonder why you have no willpower. You do not have a willpower problem. You have a protein and fat gap problem. Dinner. Dinner looks like lunch. So protein is your anchor, vegetables, small carb if desired. Where I want you to pay attention is the timing though. Eating a big meal at like 9 or 10 at night, close to bed, means your insulin is elevated while you're sleeping, which disrupts your growth hormone release overnight, disrupts your sleep quality, and erases a lot of the metabolic benefit of your overnight fast. So try to eat by 7 or 7:30. I know that is a shift for a lot of families, but it doesn't have to be perfect, but just try to trend in that direction. Okay, I know sometimes we have kids that have sports and things, and it's hard to eat earlier in the day because of that. So you end up eating late. If there's any way, especially if you, again, this is specifically for insulin resistance, if overnight fast is what you're trying to achieve, then maybe taking food or snacking on something that will get you the benefit of still getting a meal in earlier in the day versus later at night. Let's talk about snacks. Ideally, if you're eating protein and fat at your meals, you should not be desperately hungry between them. That mid-afternoon crash and craving is a signal that your earlier meals likely did not have enough protein and fat in it. So it's not the sign that you need a snack. You just need to really make sure that you are fueling your body with proteins and fat. But if you genuinely need something between meals, the rule is simple: protein and fat together. A handful of almonds, cheese and cucumber slices, a hard-boiled egg, celery with almond butter. What you want to avoid is carbs-only snacks, crackers, fruit alone, granola bars, because those spike insulin without slowing it back down. Let's look at a little help from our supplements. Now, I talked in detail last episode about the supplement stack I use with my patients, so I'm not going to repeat all of that here, but I do want to mention a few things specifically in the context of food and blood sugar, because some of you are doing all the right things with your meals and still feeling like your glucose response is more dramatic than it should be. So berberine, for example, 500 milligrams before meals, taking about 20 to 30 minutes before your two largest meals. Berberine helps blunt the post-meal glucose spike you get. If you're eating more carbs than ideal right now, maybe you're transitioning gradually. This will give you meaningful support in the meantime. Magnesium glycinate at bedtime. If your evening cravings are a real struggle, mag glycinate or magnesium supports blood sugar stability overnight and reduces the cortisol-driven hunger that some women experience in the morning. The supplement bundle, again, is in the show notes if you want to grab either of these. And as always, please check with your provider first, especially if you're on any glucose lowering medications. 3 things you can do this week, doable starting right now this week. I want you to audit your breakfast for 1 week, just breakfast. Don't overhaul everything at once. I want you to look at what you're eating in the morning and ask, does this have at least 25 grams of protein? If the answer is no, just swap it. 1 meal for 7 days. See how your energy and your cravings change in the afternoon. And I genuinely think this simple change will surprise you, especially if you're using a continuous glucose monitoring system and you're tracking it to see how you do. The second thing is eat your vegetables and proteins before your carbs at dinner. Tonight, like at dinner, whatever you're eating, eat the non-starchy vegetables first, then the protein, then the carb, if there is one. You don't have to change what you're making, just change the order. Set a reminder on your phone if you need to. Do this every night this week and notice how you feel after meals compared to before. Third thing, set a kitchen close time. Pick a time tonight from 7 p.m., 7:30, whatever is realistic for your life, and commit to not eating after that. Kitchen closed. You can have water, you can have herbal tea, black coffee in the morning, but no food after that time. This is your first step towards compressing your eating window. And it is genuinely one of the most impactful things you can do for insulin resistance without changing a single thing about what you eat during the day. Food is not your enemy. It really is not. I want you to leave today with that thought. Food is not your enemy. Food is information for your body. And now you know how to give your body information that can lower insulin, reduce inflammation, gives your metabolism a fighting chance to do what it was designed to do in the first place. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just have to be consistent with those principles we talked about. Protein first, crowd out the high glycemic carbs, compress your eating window, and move after meals. That's the framework. Everything else is details. Progress over perfection, always. One better meal is better than waiting until Monday to start over. If you have any questions about anything we covered today, how to apply this to your specific situation, what to do if you have dietary restrictions, anything, send me an email, info@rejuvenatehealthak.com. I'll say it again, info@rejuvenatehealthak.com. ak.com. I want to hear from you. And if you are ready to take this further, get your labs done, build a real personalized protocol, have someone in your corner who can see your full picture. The intake form for my women's metabolic blueprint is in the show notes. Fill it out and let's talk. Next week, we're going into exercise, specifically why cardio alone is not working for women with insulin resistance and what the science actually says you should be doing instead. You don't want to miss this one. Thank you for being here. Share this episode with someone who needs it. Take care of yourselves and stay elevated. Thank you for tuning in to the Elevated Women's Podcast. If today's episode resonates with you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with a friend who needs this conversation too. And if you're ready to stop guessing and start thriving, head over to our website. It's listed in the show notes to learn more about our Elevated Women's coaching program. That's where we take these conversations deeper and create a more personalized plan for your hormones, your weight, energy, and more. Check out our show notes. I've linked free tools and cheat sheets to help you get started right away. For more daily tips and inspiration, come hang out with me on Instagram at The Elevated Woman Coach. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Thriving Over 40 with Dr. Akindipe. Until next time, stay elevated.